Hello and welcome to A0 Chess. This is game number 3 of the World Chess Championship match between Magnus Carlsen and Carlsen-Nepomniachtchi. And in this game, Carlsen was black. And the best way to look at this match is not from an entertainment point of view. It's a World Championship match. So these guys are going to be doing their best to play a game where they don't risk anything and they try to get as much as possible. Today's game seems like there's not much happening, but it's because these guys are preventing stuff before it even happens. So it started e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and we get to this position which we've reached in game 1. So again, we discussed the idea that black is threatening to play the marshal. I'm not sure if he really is serious or he knows that Nepo will try to avoid the marshal as much as he can. And after a4, Nepo is the first one to deviate. We saw how Carlsen's preparation in the previous game, I think it was something like h3, and then he went for this pawn sacrifice with knight a5, and Nepo ran into an unusual pawn sacrifice in this setup that was not pleasant to me. So this time he plays a4, which is another anti-marshal. By playing a4, white of course is threatening a takes b, and the rook is hanging, so you have to play bishop b7, and now it just goes d3. So he's avoided the marshal, but he runs into this line. Okay, here after knight b d2, I think you're supposed to play h6. That's one of the moves. Carlsen wanted to go for this slight sideline because he wanted to deviate from the usual. I think he called it a rubbish move later on in the press conference, but doesn't really matter. It still fits if you follow the main lines. And here, the bishop doesn't really have a good square to take it to, so d2 is really the best. And after knight e3, we get c4, and we get this position with a knight on c4, knight c6, and here Nepo called this an ugly move, but it somehow works. That's I think was his actual words. The point is that of course the knight secures the square b4, which he could plant a knight at the ideal time. The bishop can go to a6. It's got the freedom to move. There's not much happening in this position. At the same time, there is quite a little bit of stuff to take into account. It's almost like it's setting up your pieces in the right space so that eventually when the game opens up, you are ready for it. As you can see, bishop c3. And if you are playing black, you are now anticipating that, okay, d4 is going to come. And after pawn takes, knight takes, we reach this position where Carlsen is preparing d5. So in some cases, this h3 is very handy in the sense that the king is not stuck at the back rank, and in some lines it works. But in the line that Carlsen played after d5, it really doesn't make much of a difference. That's why if someone was looking with a computer here after h3, it seems like it drops in strength, the position. But to be honest, this was always in the margin of a draw, this game. So h3, c6, bishop c2 here. And now I think the first slightly unusual move. If you move backwards here, there's not really good square to move your pieces to. So it's one of those moments where your opponent tests to see if they can push you back. In this sense, we could define, let's say, an attacking move as any move that forces you to move backwards. And here we see that Nepo refuses and instead counterattacks with e5, and after pawn takes, exchanges queens and takes on f6. Now, if you were to take f6, this would be a terrible position. If you look at black's structure, it's completely destroyed. He's got like 4 or 5 isolate. He's got 4 pawn islands. So this is not the position you want to go to. And here we see the resourcefulness of Carlsen, because here he has to be very precise. He goes bishop b4, and now the bishop is pinned. It doesn't really have influence extending to the king. After takes, he exchanges and recovers his pawns. And here we see an interesting concept. Traditionally, this position would have been regarded as extremely advantageous to white because he's got a better pawn structure, and his bishop is slightly bad considering that the c4 limits his activity. But now a couple of factors. His rooks are fairly more active than the white ones, and his king, which I think is the much more bigger concept, is very active. And after rook a b8, rook b1, king f6, here take, we get into this ending where if you were to be asked which side you want to choose, you would say white, but there's no real clear plan of how you are going to break through into black's position because most of the key squares are covered. So here the game simply just peters out to a draw because there's no entry point to exploit the weaknesses of this pawn. So not the most exciting game, but I think very logical considering that tomorrow is a rest day, and definitely some elements to it. Playing a match is more like it's a long haul. So you test your opponents, you see where they are vulnerable, and I think here Carlsen just realized that one Nepo is actually quite well prepared, and he's not being impulsive. He's actually thinking through the strategies. Now they go into a rest day, they really plan on how they're going to crack what they have tested, and also be certain that they don't run into surprises. Listen, if you really enjoy what we're doing and you like our stuff, subscribe. It helps us grow the channel and it makes this more possible. Hopefully we can do more, with more support. Thank you so much. Cheers.